in Walla Walla, Washington, and have the honor today of introducing this topic on what to really do with the end of the pivot. So this one's a great topic. It's an important topic. There's a lot of country around the edge of a pivot. And I'd like to introduce today our presenter. Our presenter is Clark Bauer. Clark is a territory manager with us here at Nelson Irrigation. He has been for a number of years. He's based in his territory, or lives near his territory in Gibbon, Nebraska. He's been 20 years in the irrigation industry. He's a phenomenal guy with a lot of experience, and looking forward to the topic today. If you have any questions, please use in this Zoom meeting, feel free to send them. You can send them to me. When you do your question and answers sections down at the bottom, you'll see a place to, you can send them to the group, or you could just send them to me. I'd like you to send them to me at the webinar account, and then I will manage those. We will save some time for the end to ask Clark any questions that we've got coming. But with that, I would like to see what you got for us today. Clark, what do you have for us today with the end of Pivot Solutions?
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Welcome everybody to our webinar on end of iron solutions for center pivots. Hope to spend the next rough half an hour with you. Welcome aboard and greetings from central Nebraska, south central Nebraska. It's noon, so I'll greet you by saying good afternoon, and we'll get started here. There will be some surveys pop up here for you, so feel free to fill out those surveys as they appear, and we'll have some question time at the end, as Steve mentioned. So we'll look forward to getting started here, and again, welcome aboard. Having some issues getting my screens to advance. Just hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Sorry, technical problems. So we're on board now. So Nelson's product offerings cover everything from the pump site and valve control. Obviously, the core of the sprinklers across the pivot. And what we'll talk about today is our end of pivot or end of iron solutions, and the array of products that we have available in that category. So we'll just kind of get started here. So what are we going to cover today? End of iron solutions, we've got quite a few products to review, but we want to optimize our end of iron applications across the different products we offer. We want to eliminate those coverage gaps at the edge, and as it shows here in this little gap at this R55 product showing here on that diagram. We will also cover adding acres in those lower gallon per minute systems, and just getting coverage for all systems. We'll cover some flushing products at the end of your overhang, and then we'll review some valve options for individual control of those end of pivot sprinklers. Then we will conclude by covering our big gun product line for center pivots. So that being said, we'll get started here. Where did end of pivot products start for us? It started with our part circle rotator. And then that's widely used across a lot of my territory. A lot of use in south central Nebraska, for instance. But we'll keep expanding on this product line as well. So along that line, we have a new product that we're bringing out. This is for test, limited release for test only. It is our part circle rotator with new VT technology, variable torque technology, and I will expand more on that product as we get into the R55s. But what this will allow us to do is eliminate the different colored pads for different size nozzles. So you only have one pad. You'll have a pad for upright mounted, which is new, and then you'll have a pad for down mounted. So if you have questions on that, please share them with Steve through the, and we'll get to that at the end of the presentation. So across the other product lines that we're going to cover today, first we will show distance of coverage, pressure ranges, and then of course the gownage, or excuse me, the acreage that we can add with those different product lines. We'll cover the R55, which is photoed here. We'll cover the R75, which is photoed here. And across the other product line, the SR75, again at 70, 90 feet of throw, 25 PSI operation, which is lower pressure for a big gun product. And then of course we'll cover our very popular SR100 product, which is obviously in operation, and another photo of the SR100 there. So you're familiar with those different products. So we'll start talking about the R55 as an end of pivot solution. And again, we will talk about coverage gaps. You can pick up extra acres by irrigating where the SR100 can't as the pivot enters or exits the corner, and around obstacles such as roads or buildings over here where we don't want to hit those grain bins with our big gun, but we can still add approximately 50 feet of throw. So again, we want to maximize those acres out at the edge of the field. Do the best job possible and add bushels and performance to our operation. So let's get into the R55 and the R75 products. Both very popular and widely used across many of the markets that I serve. So the new R55 VT, and again, there's the VT, our variable torque motor, and we'll talk a little bit more and elaborate about that slightly. You can a variable torque motor on an R55 can operate at 15 to 60 psi. We have our snap fit nozzle system, which I'll show some more detail on later. We have new nozzles again. We have a new green plate for downward, or R55 inverted, R55i. And a good way to think about that for knowing which product you want to install, blue pad goes to the sky and the green pad goes to the ground, or the green corn, or the green grass. So that's a way to remember what orientation you should mount those at. And again, the snap fit nozzle has color band indicators, so you don't have to take 2 trips up a ladder if you want to change a nozzle to change your performance. Very convenient. And again, here is the range of the snap fit nozzle systems, 52 all the way to 90. The blue 90 is the largest, and the snap fit nozzles work really well. So here's the performance chart on the R55 VT. This would be the blue, and 15 to 60 and 18 gallons, 40 feet of throw, and 105 gallons for 56 feet of throw. That's your range of operation. So a very big range of operation with this product, and it's become very popular. The R55i VT, again, variable torque motor there as well. So with that variable torque motor, I'll elaborate a little bit more. No matter what pressure, again, we're talking about ranges of 15 PSI to 60, 18 gallons to 91 gallons on the R55i. Variable torque means that no matter what the pressure is, or no matter what the nozzle size is, the variable torque will allow that pad to spin at the same RPM. So that's the key part of the variable torque. Forgot to mention that earlier, but covered it there. So here is some video of the R55 in action. I'll just let this run. As you can see, the streams getting a good application rate thrown out. Here's a little bit different view, and very good looking application right there. And I think we'll see it in combination with an SR100 here toward the end of this video. Yeah, there it is in combination with the SR100. So a good looking package right there. And the R55 VT is a good looking package right there. There's another one, another view on that video. So here's the R55i, the green pad, downward mounted. I'm just showing you a picture of its operation here. No video, just a picture. And here's a couple more of videos, or excuse me, pictures of the R55i. And again, 15 to 60 PSI. I will mention too, on the performance chart for the eye, the 90, the blue nozzle is not available in this product line. It would flood, it basically kind of floods the pad and won't allow it to turn. So therefore you only have 90 gallons as a top end on this R55i. So we have service kits. This would be the older kits for the gray and the blue pads. They're not interchangeable. And then same things with the blue and the green today. They're not interchangeable. So if you're changing a motor out that's green, you have to put a green pad back on it. So I'll show you real quick how to do that. I've already removed the snap ring. I'll remove the snap fit nozzle real quick, very easy to do. And then with the snap ring out, we just pull that pad out. And you can see here, there's some screws that you need to remove and you can put on your new pad. The kit comes with a new snap ring and new screws, and you simply use a little Allen wrench to deal with those screws. So so why would I want to change my pad? You know, this is a very robust pad. It's going to last a lot of years, but in some applications where maybe we're dealing with sand, dealing with surface water with some sand grit in it, well, maybe pumping a little bit of gravel. After several years, the edge on that pad may get very dull and it will not perform at its desired point. So very easy to change a pad, very inexpensive to change a pad and not have to, you know, remove the entire gun. So very convenient deal. And again, as I mentioned, they are not interchangeable. So if you got a green, if you got a blue, you got to go with a blue pad. The motors are designed that way. So arc settings are set by the nozzle, and they are set at on the blue and what would be the eye gray, which is now green. Same performance. 108 left to 100 right on the blue. 109 left and 118 right on the gray or the green. So talking about the R75, is showing a video here. The ranges is 25 to 70 gallon per minute and 55 to 70 feet at 40 to 60 psi, 50 to 60 at 25 to 40 LP. So there's two guns in this variety. LP, which has less rotator motors in the base as opposed to the standard R75. Again, rotator technology makes this product line work. So you'll see there's an infill tube there, and when it reverses back, it's going to have a distance tube shot. There you go, right there to the distance shot. So it allows you to get the maximum distance, but then it will infill as well. So very good product line here. So with that, as we change pads on the R55, we can also change nozzles here if the same issue happens over several years while you're pumping maybe some grit or some sand. But you can easily take this out, change your nozzle if needed, and then, you know, replace this back together. Very easy just to clip it on, clip it off, easy to work with, and very convenient if you do need to change those nozzles out. And here is the nozzle sizes up here. There are 6 different nozzle sizes available in this product line. Again, dual barrel spray plate, as we saw in the video, adjustable stops, which is important to customize your arc, and easy access nozzle, as we've also displayed. Here's your performance chart. And again, we have 2 different products. We have the LP, and then we have the regular R75. And again, we want you to add as many acres as you can, cover as many, do the best job you can, and that's why we have so many different product lines to choose from. Here are our arc settings, as we talked about the R55. Arc settings, there's also arc settings for the R75. A single gun setting is left and right 3. Dual leading, and when you have a dual, your leading gun would be left and right 2. And then your dual trailing gun would be left and right 4 each from basic radius. So required plumbing. This is important for the performance. I've seen an R55 with a T below it before, and it does hinder the performance. We want sweeping elbows and 6 inches. So sweeping elbows and 6 inches. And of course on the eye, 6 inches straight down to optimize those performance points. We have added a new sprinkler adapter to answer that 6-inch distance. This is available from Nelson, and have one right here. But again, it's very convenient. It's 2 inches on the bottom, 1.25 inches on the top, so it will fit both the R55 and the R75. So that brings us to the conclusion, not the conclusion of my presentation, but which gun do I use? That's what you're going to have to formulate and decide for your operation and what you're maybe going to be selling at your dealership. Well, we would encourage every pivot to have all these guns, but not practical probably in a lot of applications. So let's look at the R55 versus R75. 40 and 50, 40 to 55 on the R55, 50 to 70 on the R75, 15 to 60, and then of course the 2 different guns for the R75. This is a little higher application rate for longer systems or high flow. And then this is also a little bit lower application rate, maybe shorter systems or lower flow systems. Excellent single, and then some dual options may improve your uniformity with the R75. This is kind of the remember me. We still make our P85 impact. You get a little bit further throw, 50 to 80, down to 30 PSI to 60. And again, maximize those acres and do the best you can do. Get all those acres covered. So again, still making the P85 still available. So let's talk about multiple guns and then maybe the control valves and get into that. Just going to show some videos. This would be the R75, and this would be the distance tube, I believe. And then in combination with the end gun coming on, there's a lot going on out there. There's the infill tube spray that's filling in the pattern, and then it will switch to the distance tube here at the end. Yep, right there. So just showing a video of that combination of different guns available. So booster pump controlled valves, the 1000P valve is available and in combination with the big gun in a lot of markets. So wanted to mention that 1000P valve for big guns right here. And then the 1000P for secondary end guns, available with plastic or metal connections. Again, for both the R55 and the R75, and different sizes available as well in those applications for those valves. Our secondary end gun product offering here. With the pressure regulating option with the VT, with the R55 VT may not be needed, as that pad will stay at the same performance no matter of pressure or nozzle size. So the middle one, the 1000PX, would be the standard just on-off valve. So 1000P plumbing, the difference between the metal and the plastic, we want to, again, metal will allow 12-inch and 12-inch in and out of that valve, just in this horizontal orientation. So that's the key to remember. If you go with plastic ends, we want you to stay at 6 and 6 in and out on both sides. The metal is obviously a little bit stronger, and just attention to detail there. Again, sweeping elbows down or sweeping elbows up, no T's in these locations. So pay attention to those installation suggestions as well. Here's our purge valve. Talked about flushing options. So this will stay open until it sees 8 pounds of pressure. And then when you shut your system off, it will open back up and help drain that sediment off the bottom of your overhang. There we go. It was flushing initially, came to pressure and it closed. And then you've shut your system off at the end of the cycle and it'll open back up and flush that sediment off the bottom of the overhang. So if you're pumping a lot of sediment, you may want to choose to do a secondary on off and maybe turn that purge valve on another one other time, or maybe 2 other times in that circle of operation. If you do that, we would suggest that you turn the purge valve, the flush valve, on when the in gun is off to maximize your application. Although these should be on very short time, just a few seconds in most cases. We just want to pay attention to the application suggestion there. So this is our SR NV 100 gun. It integrates a valve for maybe a wastewater application where you don't want to put a 1000 P valve in. And in combination with our Delta P kit, which reads pressure, when the booster pump's on, it sees the pressure and opens it up. And when that opens up the nozzle valve, and when the booster pump goes off, it sees the pressure going away, and then it will switch the water pressure to close the valve. Eliminates the need for a solenoid, which is a fairly serviceable item on the center pivot side. So the SR 75 big gun, again, lower pressure for a big gun product line. Can operate down to 25 PSI. You have to pay attention to your nozzle size at that point too, just to make sure you're not pounding the ground too bad with the stream. So just a lot of different performance levels integrating with the R75. Pay attention to your different nozzle sizes will have different drive vanes available. So your smaller drive vanes, or your smaller nozzle, excuse me, will have a bigger drive vane, and 0.55 nozzle on the up will have our standard black vane, but pay attention to that on the installation. So the original big gun, this is a biggie in the market across a lot of around the globe. Just showing some videos in operation, very robust, celebrating 35 plus years, and really have not changed the design much on that gun at all. A lot of hours and a lot of operating time proven well out there in the market. And we're very proud to have that on our product line. Another survey was going to pop up is to see kind of a outline of what products are you using most often. So multiple choice there. And all right, having an issue getting to my last slide.
That may be me with the polling.
Okay.
So we can get that. Clark, really great information coming in today with this. You know, this would be a good time if we have a couple of questions. If you have any more questions, we're going to ask people, go ahead, and when they're done with the polling, which I'll end now, go ahead and send those in to me and we'll address those in a moment. And then we'll let you go ahead and finish your last slide or two.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll advance here shortly, Steve. I can conclude. I know one slide is talking about our in-gun rebuild program. Once we get there, I can just talk about it. That in-gun rebuild program is available in the United States and Canada only. I'm not sure it's available now. Not sure how long it will be available. But a very popular program. You can send us your old gun. It's maybe it's been in a wastewater situation or just has a lot of sediment and gook and build up and it's getting kind of gummy. Send it to our factory. We will rebuild that and send it back to you back to you, the dealer, customer, etc. But it would have to be run through your center pivot dealer. Very proud to offer that, and it's just a really popular program. I wanted to mention it for sure. So that really concludes my slides. If I can get this to advance, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get it to advance to my last two, but we appreciate your input. And Steve, do you have some questions?
We do, and some comments that have come in. This has really been helpful information, Clark, because the end of the iron is such an important part, and Nelson Irrigation has lots of tools to offer there, and you've done a really good job of explaining why the different tools go where. Of course, the Nelson products are designed very, very well to last a long time in a variety of applications, and so that's why the rebuild kits. So it's not just that we're going to be helping that very uniform package that's under the iron that does a good job. We have to end the pattern someplace. And so that's what the end of these packages do. The end of iron does. That's so important. A couple of questions here. If I'm automating my purge valve, and you mentioned, you touched on this a little bit, but I'll go ahead and read the question. If I'm automating my purge valve, do I need a new chart? So, here's a purge valve. It's a very large nozzle. You already suggested that we not do it at the same time that the big gun is running, if we can help it, because there's a lot of running there, but that could be 100 gallons per minute that needs to come from someplace. So would you suggest a new chart for this person?
If it was inevitable that you had to run both the gun and the purge valve, we would probably look at that being a consideration. The other time element is how long is that going to be on? That purge valve is likely only going to be on, maybe 10 seconds to do the job, to flush back closed. So a good question though, and you'd have to work with your local center pivot dealer, and we could work that out.
That's a good thing, because we have to be able to accommodate the flow rates. So managing the amount of water going into the pivot, that type of thing. Another question is, do I always need to use those little vents that come with the control valves for end of iron pivot control? In situations like you've got there, those little vents to get the air out of the volute. So here's a customer wanting to know if they need to always use those.
Yes, we definitely suggest having that brass vent installed at the top of the booster volute. There's always a little tap on the top of the booster volutes, and we want that vent to be installed at the booster. So if air is involved, we want that out of the booster, as that's where the air is kept typically, is in the booster. So it's not necessarily, it's not to be installed on our valve. It's to go in the booster volute.
That's the point of that, is getting the air out of the pump. So it's a booster pump issue. So we've got a question here. Does Nelson have representation in Africa? And the answer is that we do. So to this person, I will get our, if you get onto the website, you'll be able to have contact information and be in touch with the people that cover that part of the world, and we do have representations there. I will say, as far as the air vent goes, I think there are times when the vents will actually go in the control valve. The point being getting air out, right? So it could be in the volute, it can be in the valve. The point is that it needs to be able to be correctly placed, with the spirit of thing being trying to make sure that we don't put the valve or to that volute of the pump in a troubling spot. Let's see if any other questions are coming in. So, another thing I would mention is it was really interesting to see you showing the R75, which is an incredibly good sprinkler. it's taking over the marketplace from the impact sprinklers, because on these long overhangs, the R75 doesn't shake. So, it's a rotator, it's easily serviced as you showed us how to do it, super easy to do, lots of flow rates. But the fact that we were watching it, how smoothly it runs, do you often see them running by themselves, or do you see them mostly in combination with the SR100s?
The the
Or even the 55s?
R75s that I've seen in some of my market areas are standalones. They're like just, hey, we got a little less pressure. We don't want the expense of a booster. Let's just use that individually on its own. So I see that more in my market areas, but it could be different in different market areas. More of my
Okay.
combination packages in my market area are a SR, or excuse me, an R55 in combination with the SR100. That's kind of the most common thing that I do see in my particular market areas.
Great. And I think that with our application engineering department here has maybe some recommendations that all of us can benefit from, that will be accessible to anybody. If you talk to your territory manager, they can help get you that information, but how to sort of pair those two. And there's valving options. There's lots of cool ways that you can arrange that. Not everybody has to have that tree that you showed us, that test pivot with everything on
Yeah,
it.
the research tree.
The research tree, that's pretty impressive. But one of the things I've really noticed about the R55 is how, with multiple streams, you can really put a lot of water into the soil, because at some point we have to really treat the soil well, don't we?
Yes, we do. We
And
don't
the
want to.
R55
Yep.
helps that a lot.
Yeah, we don't want to seal it off in germination time. We just really want to have a good package, because we can add a lot of acres out there, and just gotta pay attention to it. Maybe the last statement I'll make, and if there's more questions, come great. That combination I talk about, the R55 and the SR100. People have asked me in the past at shows and different events, why would I want to use an R55? I say, well, it's very popular, one, and I say just try one. Order one from your dealer, put it on, just put one on, and a lot of operators today have multiple machines. So what I tend to see is you follow up with those customers or follow up with the dealer regarding that customer. They try one and they buy more. And that's just been the way, that's kind of the rule of the R55. When they see it, they really, really like what it's doing out there.
That's great. And so we'll go ahead and wrap up now. We're out of time. Clark, thank you very much for a great presentation today on the Nelson Irrigation